We're not ones go around spreading rumors. Really, we're just not the gossiping kind. You'll never hear one of us repeating gossip. So you better be sure and listen close the first time. Well, did y'all hear about Tanya McPeak? She lost her job. You know, she works at the bank. Well, you know, besides working at the bank, she also does a lot of she teaches aerobics and yoga, and you know, she's concerned about being healthy and, you know, trying to make sure other people are healthy too. Well, she was at the bank the other day. This little old lady come in and asked Tanya if she would check her balance, and so she pushed her over.
Well, this was years ago, and they was just so mad in love, and Steve thought, well, I'm going to just ask my sweetheart to marry me. So they got married, and probably within about 8 months after they were married, Steve got all his golf equipment out, and he was cleaning it up and looking at it, checking it out, and Dana was just standing back, just looking at him, and really serious, and she said, you know, we could really have a lot more time together if you didn't play so much golf. I think you could probably really get a lot of money if you sold them at a yard sale. And all of a sudden, Steve just looked panicky and was shocked, and Dana was standing back. She said, what's wrong, honey, what's wrong? And he said, you sound like my ex-wife. And Dana said, I didn't know you'd ever been married. And he said, I haven't.
Well, did y'all hear about that Peggy and Clarence Pierce? Well, one morning, Clarence got up and went and seen Peggy just working at the kitchen table. And he said, well, what in the world are you doing, hon? And she said, well, I'm working this puzzle. And he said, well, what's it supposed to be a picture of? And she said, well, it's supposed to be a big rooster, but I hadn't got it started yet. I can't get it started. He come over, he put his glasses on, and he said, honey, you might as well give up on that rooster. It ain't never going to look like it. You might as well put them cornflakes back in that box.
Sunday morning, not too long ago, that Noel was trying to encourage the congregation to raise money to renovate the sanctuary. And so he said, all right, if you'll pledge $1,000, I will let you pick the next 3 hymns. So Karen Easter stood up and she said, I'll do it. And Noel said, well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's very generous. Now you go ahead and pick the next 3 hymns. So she stood up and looked around at the congregation and she said, I'll take him and him and him.
Well, you know, Mom and Dad teach Sunday school. They teach the 4 and 5-year-olds a little bitty, so instilling God's word in little children. And so one thing that they were teaching the other day was the 10 Commandments. And so they were talking about honor thy mother and thy father. And so Leanne says, well, what about our brothers and sisters? And then JoJo said, well, there's a commandment for that too. It's thou shalt not kill.
Well, you know, the other day, y'all know Brian and Anna Horn, or Anna Horn, ever how you say her name. But anyway, Anna had some money. She had a couple $100, and she says, well, I'm going to go see if I can do a little Christmas shopping. And so she was, I think she went to that Walmart up in Stewart. And, I mean, not Stewart. What's that other place, Rocky Mount. But anyway, guys, that's where they live. And anyway, she was shopping, and so she went to pay, and she said she didn't have her money. Something I don't know whether she got stolen or she just dropped it, but anyway, she just went on out of the store, and she was just a boo-hooing. And about that time, Brian came around the corner, and he saw her, and he says, "Honey, what's wrong with you?" She says, I've lost my $200. And so he pulls out his pocket. He says, "Here's 40 of 200 I found."
Well, y'all know how so many of the Mount Hermon men love golf. Well, don't ask me how I found this one out. But Noel called one morning. He got up and he just really didn't feel good, and he thought, "I just need a day off. I think I'm gonna call and tell him I'm not feeling good and I'm just not gonna be here today." So after he stayed home, and he thought, "I'm gonna go play golf." So he went to the next town to play golf. Well, he gets out there and gets up there and he swings that club, and that ball went flying. All of a sudden, this wind just lifted that ball. I know it took that ball 300 to 400 yards, and he made a hole in one. And Noel's out there just, just screaming, and the angel said, "Well, God, what'd you do that for?" And God said, "Well, who's he gonna take?"
About that Elijah man, but he ordered a pizza down at the Papa's Pizza down the road, and he goes in there and he says, "I want the largest pizza y'all got in here, and I want all kinds of toppings, just ooey gooey cheese on it and everything." And the guy says, "Well, how many slices do you want your cutting in, 8 or 12?" And he says, "Well, only 8, I can eat 12.
Here that Sunday that Don Street filled in for Noel, and he preached this wonderful sermon about self-control, and it was fabulous. And then at the end he said, a lot of passion, he said, "If I had all the beer in the world, I'd throw it in the river." And then with, a lot of fervor, he said, "If I had all the wine in the world, I'd throw it in the river." And then he almost yelled and said, "If I had all the whiskey in the world, I'd throw it in the river." After he's finished speaking, he sat down, and Jeannie, our music director, came up, and she said, "For our final hymn, turn to page 365, Shall We Gather at the River?"
Well, speaking about preaching, so Noah was preaching the other day. Justin's sitting right beside me in church. And, he started preaching about wives must submit to their husband. He gave me that nudge, and I was madder than a mosquito in a minute. But, then the Spirit hit me. He said, "You know what? If Noah's called to preach that wives are supposed to submit to their husband, that's what I'm going to do." So I went home, changed clothes, I fixed my husband some lunch, and then I got my wallet out, and I submitted to him my Kohl's receipt and my Amazon receipt.
Well, we're not ones to go around spreading rumors. Why, really, we're just not the gossiping kind. You'll never hear of us repeating gossip, so you better be sure and listen close the first time.